views and opinions of the guests on the WYLEANER show are those of the guests and are not necessarily the views and opinions of the hostess WYLEANER and or her co-host.
She's always dealing with reality. With love she imparts and songs of the heart. She knows that your love will make you grow. Come on and find out what you need to know. Running is the golden know. Where the rubber meets the road. I'm not saying what it is.
Morning Madness. It's all about the money madness, yes indeed. Yes. And we are back with y'all, yes indeed. We got off to a little bit of a late start, just a teeny bit of a late start, but here we are. Yes indeed. We are in the room. And I'm excited to be back with you again today. And I know we are going to have a show for you today, yes indeed. And something wanted to make us late, but guess what? It didn't stop us because we got some information for y'all. And y'all know who I am. I'm WYLEANER, the Las Vegas Queen of Gospel.
And I'm her co-host, Miss Amy Rucker, the voice of my generation.
All righty then. And we are excited to be back. And we want to welcome everybody back. Everybody who is watching out there on WYLEANERTVShow.com. And everybody who is listening out there on Spreaker.com. And everybody who's watching on YouTube and Google Hangout and in Pakistan and on Tumblr and all of our Facebook fans, we just want to welcome everybody back to the show. We are excited to be back. Miss Amy, how you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good. I just got my eyebrows arched. They hurt. But I'm good.
Okay. Well, you know, sometimes it hurts to be cute.
Yeah.
You know, it's not easy being cute.
Yes, women go through.
Yes, indeed. It's not easy being cute. Believe me, I know. Okay, I tell you what, we have some guests for y'all today. We are going to be talking about the money madness in the churches that the pastors get paid and all this money these churches is making. Is it really supposed to be? Or what? What is your word on that, and how do you feel about the money in the churches, okay? We've got some guests with us today. We've got some return guests. Each one of these gentlemen that have joined us today have been a guest on the WYLEANER show before, and we're excited about them coming back and joining us today. We have with us Mr. Don C. Harris, who is back with us again from last week, and yeah, I'm gonna start in on him today. Believe me, I am. Okay, and then we also have back with us, Mr. Ronaldo Wade, who has been with us several times, and we have with us Johnson.
I've never met Mr. Daniel.
Well,
hi,
Mr. Daniel Johnson is going to be he's been on the show several times.
Okay.
Yes, indeed. And so we're excited about these guys. We want to hear what these guys have to say about this money madness in the church. Okay? And I mean to tell you, I think they're going to share some very important information with us, and I'm looking forward to what they're going to share with us. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick little bit of a break, and you know what's going to happen, Miss Amy, when we come back. They need to strap up their boots, right?
Yeah.
Because when we come back, what's going to happen? The rubber is going to meet the road. We'll see you in just a minute.
Hi, this is WYLEANER, the Las Vegas Queen of Gospel. First of all, I really do appreciate your listening and viewing my show every week. I would greatly appreciate your financial assistance as well to keep my show on the air. Please just make some type of contribution. $5, $10, $20, $50, $100 or more, whatever you desire. Please log on to www.WYLEANERTVShow.com and click the pay button, or please send your check or money order to WYLEANER, that's spelled WYLEANER, to 420 North Nellis Boulevard, Suite A3, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89110. Also, if you would like to be a guest on the show, please call 702-242-2100 or email me at WYLEANERTVShow@AOL.com. That's all for now. And thanks again for your continued support. Blessings to you too. And this is where the rubber meets the road.
All right, everybody, we are back, and we are excited to be back. So what I'd like to do right now, first and foremost, is let you guys get a good quick look at our guests, and we're going to bring them back up on the screen right now. And we have Brother Ronaldo Wade. Are you with us?
Good evening. How are you? Good evening.
Wonderful, wonderful. We are happy that you're back,
Yes.
and we're excited about it. And then, of course, Don C. Harris, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here. Hey, I got a surprise for you, WYLEANER. You're making a debut on Think Red Ink TV right now.
Whoa!
Yes.
Yeah.
Whoa! Do I look cute? Do we look cute?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you should have told me.
Because we might have
especially,
yeah.
especially those eyebrows.
How you gonna throw us under the bus like that?
It's okay now.
That's all right. I make it
Stay
cute
ready, you
enough.
ain't got to get.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for sharing that with us, Mr. Don C. Harris. And hello out there to the audience of Red Ink TV. Wonderful. Okay. And we want to welcome back to the show Mr. Daniel Johnston. Daniel Johnston, are you with us?
I am with you.
Wonderful, wonderful, and welcome back, Mr. Johnson. Okay, so listen, ladies and gentlemen, we have three. Well, I don't know if we have two or three, but we have anti-denominational and I think anti-denominational. I don't know. These guys are going to tell us what they really believe or whatever.
Listen, if y'all keep calling yourself anti-denominational, they gonna classify y'all as a denomination
In a minute. Keep on saying that. Okay, and then of course we have Mr. Daniel Johnson, who I know for sure is that of the Mormon faith. Okay, and so we are excited to have these guys back. But Miss Amy, you want to share some information with the viewers and listeners?
Yes, the call lines are open, and for those who are calling international or just nationwide, that number could be at 1-866-945-1110. Again, that number is 866-945-1110. And if you're calling locally, that number is 702-527-4471. Remember, when you call in, be respectful to the guest, because if you're not, you'll get the dial tone. Please state your name and whatever city you're calling from when you do call. And if you cannot, if you're getting feedback, please take your call off the line so you can hear your answer.
All righty then. Yes, indeed. Now, see, Miss Amy, she kind of nice to y'all, but I say I'm going to introduce you to what I call a brand new clique, and that's hang up on you. She said dial tone, so it's the same thing. You know, so get ready for that if you call to the WYLEANER show being disrespectful or whatever the case may be. But we do have the right to agree to disagree here on the show. You can call in and say, hey, I beg to differ. I don't agree with what you're saying. I think that's wrong. Tell us where you got it from. Prove it, you know, where you get your teaching or your thoughts or whatever it is that you're telling us, where you getting it from. We want to know. Inquiring minds want to know. So anyway, but listen, everybody, we are going to get right into this, okay? Now the show is going to actually, we started about 10 minutes late, so we will probably go to 6:10 just to get that full hour in so you guys can get the full gist of the show, all right? And so if that's going to be okay with our guests, we hope that they'll hang in there with us for about 10 minutes after time today. Okay, so listen, last week, Mr. Don C. Harris, he think I done forgot, okay? I know he think I done forgot, but see, Miss WYLEANER don't forget nothing, okay? And especially when it happens on my show. He had the nerve. He had the nerve, Miss Amy, the humiliating gall to tell me that I'm not going to heaven or hell. Something he told me You know what? I'm gonna let him speak up on this one more time. Don C. Harris, I want you to repeat what you told me last week. And then after you repeat it, I want an explanation for that. Okay? I want to know what in the world are you talking about?
I'll make this real quick because I know we've got another subject, but the truth is that there is nothing in the scriptures at all, ever, anywhere that says anybody is going to heaven when they die. The scriptures teach that Jesus is coming to this earth. We're not going to him, he's coming to us. And when he comes, he's going to bring his bride, the New Jerusalem, to the earth, and we're going to occupy this earth right here under your feet. Jesus made the comment, no man has ascended into heaven. And the promise of God is that the meek would inherit the earth. This is what we're going to do. We're going to live right here on this earth with him as king, ruling from the city of the great king, and that's all I can find in Scripture. 15 years I've been asking people to show me a Scripture that says we're going to heaven when we die, and absolutely nobody has been able to show me that. However, every religious person I have ever met of any faith believes that they are. I think it's a good example of people getting their doctrine from, preachers' opinions and songbooks instead of from the scriptures. No offense against you.
Listen. Okay. You know what? I'm gonna say this, Don C. Harris.
All right.
I'm glad you explained that. I'm glad you clarified that, okay? And we're gonna leave it at that. Because I don't know what's going to happen to me when I die until I die. And then I get there, or wherever I'm going, if I'm going, or whatever happens is going to happen. I'm not here to tell you what I think about that anyway, but I just want to know what you meant when you said that on my show. But you know what? I just want to, I want to take it just a little bit further because you know me. You know me. I want to ask my other two guests, okay? I want to start with Daniel. Daniel Johnson, I want you to tell me, do you agree that with what Don C. Harris just said about where we're going, if we're not going anywhere? How do you feel about that?
Well, that was a really interesting comment, and I think there could be some truth to that. Now, in my church, which is officially the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, of course most people know us as Mormons, we don't have the standard belief in heaven and hell as some other Christian faiths do. We know that Christ said that in his Father's house there were many mansions, and so we believe that there are various places that are prepared for the people on this earth, all of God's children, depending upon what they're ready to live and the kind of laws they want to live. Interestingly, we do believe that the highest kingdom of glory, as some might refer to as heaven, will actually eventually be upon this earth. And so in that particular detail, perhaps there's some agreement with your previous guest there, with Mr. Harris's, with his suggestion.
Well, interesting, very interesting. Okay, well, let's go right over here. I'm not going to prolong the time at all. I want to see what Mr. Ronaldo Wade has to say about that. Chime in, Mr. Wade.
I agree with Don to a particular degree, and the reason why I said that is because when the Messiah, when he ascended, where did he go? Did he just go into the clouds? He went into heaven to sit at the right hand of the Father. He said that,
that's right.
No one has ever went to heaven. So our Savior is the only one that's sitting there at the right hand of the Father. So we are lifted up in heavenly places, but he shows us mysteries and secrets as to what's going to happen when heaven comes here. So Don is, very correct on 90% of it. Just that part about nobody has been to heaven. Only the Messiah has. But heaven is coming here, and didn't the Messiah say that the kingdom of heaven is within you? So it's within you. It's not outside of you. People are looking for a place when it's within you.
I am also
Okay, so
curious
I'd like to
to.
ask you, Mr. Wade, I'd like to ask you, uh, oh, okay. Where do you go when you die? That's what I was going to ask you. Brother Wade, where do you go when you die? In your
I go to
teaching.
hell.
No, you know, from ashes you come from, to ashes you return. Your body goes back into the earth, and then guess what? You know, you're gonna have the animals, and they're gonna eat off of. You know, that's as far as your flesh is concerned. Your spirit is everlasting. Now, where that goes, you have to wait until he comes back. You're gonna go to one or two places. You're either gonna go, number one, you're gonna be in New Jerusalem, or B, you're not gonna go to hell. You're just going to go into the lake of fire and brimstone. That's all. And I do believe that the Father says he is a consuming fire. You know, you're going to receive that wrath. Hell is just a scare tactic. That's all. So where do you go when you die? Back in the ground.
Good for you.
Okay, so your body, so what you're saying to me is that your body goes back into the ground. Okay,
Yep.
that's what you're saying to me. And then I heard you say that your spirit is everlasting. Okay, so I would like to know from Daniel Johnson, where does your spirit go under your teaching and belief, Daniel? Where does your spirit go? Because I think we probably can all touch and agree that the body itself, you know, it's a shell, and once the spirit leaves it, it's just dead and it's going to the ground, or it's going to be burned if people get cremated or whatever they do, you know, with that body. So that body does get destroyed. We can all touch and agree on that. But what about that spirit, or is there a spirit that leaves your body? So Daniel Johnson, the question to you is, if you believe in a spirit leaving your body, where does that spirit go? Or what do you believe happens with that, whatever's left of you?
Right. Yeah, that's a great question. And unlike most Christians, we actually have additional scriptures that describe and answer some of these questions. One of those is the Book of Mormon. Our belief is that our existence did not begin with our birth and does not end at death, that truthfully our spirits are everlasting. And in the Bible, in the Old Testament, the place where spirits go is referred to as Sheol. It's a Hebrew word. In the New Testament, it's Hades. Really, it's the same thing. It's the place of departed spirits. So we refer to it as a spirit world, that all spirits, the death is the separation of the spirit and the body, and all spirits will go to this spirit world, which we believe is actually here upon this earth. So all spirits come to the spirit world, where it's a time of preparing and waiting for the resurrection. And that doesn't matter who you are, you all go to the same place. The state you're in, how you experience this spirit world, kind of depends on the person you were in life and the choices you made. But this is a place for preparation, perhaps improvement, but a time for awaiting the resurrection and our final judgment.
Okay, okay. All right. So it sounds like, it looks like two of you guys on the same page. Let me go back here to Don C. Harris. I keep hearing him talking in the background somewhere, so I'm going to bring him to the forefront so people can see him and hear what he got to say. I want to know, Don C. Harris, did you tell us where that about the spirit? And if not, can you just re-elaborate on that for me one more time? If I missed what you said, I would like to know about the spirit. If you believe that there is a spirit in here, and when this shell is dead and it's destroyed in the ground, do you believe that that there's a spirit, and that the spirit is going to go to like a spirit world, or what do you believe happens there?
Well,
and then we're going to stop. Go ahead, Don.
Contrary to my Mormon friend here, is our Bible does, and did, I should say did, before the American Bible Society ripped those scriptures from our Bible. Actually, the book of 2nd Esdras actually describes exactly what happens after we die. You can read it in the 7th chapter of 2nd Esdras, beginning somewhere around the 70th verse or something like that. And it does explain exactly what happens to us. The spirit of man is no more the man than the body is. The Bible teaches that when the spirit joined the body, man became a living soul, resurrection, to reunite our resurrected bodies with the very same spirit that we all have, which is the Spirit of God. The book of Ecclesiastes, I believe, says that that the spirit of man goes upward to the God who gave it, and the spirit of the animal goes downward. It's not necessarily pertinent here, but this spirit is not you. It is not your soul. It is a spirit. The soul and spirit are two different things. The Bible says that only the Word of God, which is Jesus Christ and not the Bible, has the ability of discerning and dividing. They are two different things. I'm also concerned about my Mormon friends saying that the telestial kingdom is secondary to the terrestrial kingdom. I don't understand that. That's not the way I understand Mormonism.
Well, I actually didn't say that because that question didn't come up yet.
Well, we're going to see if what we'll do is okay. But since Don C. Harris brought it up, I will allow Mr. Daniel to respond to your concern there, and then we're going to get off of this, guys, because this is not what our show is about today anyway. But Daniel, would you like to expound on what Don C. Harris just said?
Well, he referred to something which I didn't say, but I can certainly talk about it. He refers to some terminology that I think only we use. And so when we talk about what our final destination will be after our resurrection, we refer to three kingdoms. Paul actually talks about a man who was caught up into the third heaven. Some Bible historians think that he's actually referring to himself. He doesn't like to refer to himself in that way. But so we believe that, as Jesus taught, in his Father's house are many mansions. We believe there are three primary kingdoms for his children based on how much they want to follow the teachings of Christ and what they're prepared to do. And we refer to these three kingdoms as celestial, as terrestrial, and as telestial. And you can see a little bit of this when Paul talks about the resurrection of the dead, although we have additional information beyond the Bible. So we do believe in what we call three kingdoms of glory. The celestial kingdom would be what many people think of as heaven. That is the highest one. The telestial one, we believe, is the lowest kingdom of glory. And so if there's any misunderstanding of our belief there, hopefully that will clear that up.
Okay, thank you, Daniel. Now listen, Don C. Harris is one of those kind of guys that really got plenty to say. So Don, you're just gonna have to hold it. I got a feeling that maybe I need to bring Don C. Harris and Daniel Johnson on the same show, so maybe we can kind of get some understanding, or maybe Don needs to have a little bit more understanding on what the Mormons teach. And if
done that.
Like Daniel can be the one to tell you about it. He's been in the Mormonism. Daniel, can you tell us how long have you been under the Mormonism faith?
Well, since about the age of 3, when my mother joined this church after sort of ending her search for finding answers to questions she was looking for that she couldn't find in her previous faith. So since the age of 3, I've been involved in this faith. That was a long time ago for me.
So there you have it. So Don, maybe we'll book you and Daniel on a show later on together, and give you the opportunity to get a little bit more questions answered and talking and that type of thing, because it looks like Daniel is the man. He's been in there since he was 3 years old. He looks quite older than 3 right now, so I think he's got a few years behind him. Okay, so listen, guys, we have got to get on with the show, and the show is about the money in the churches, okay? Now, you guys that are on with us today, You were not a part of the show last week, but I believe, if I'm correct, I would like to know if you took the time. Brother Wade, did you watch last week's show?
Absolutely. I watched the entire show, and I thought it was very interesting as to what was being said. So, yes, I listened to it.
Okay. And the same question to Daniel Johnson. Did you watch last week's show?
I'm going to have to beg your forgiveness and say that I have not been able to. So hopefully I can catch up and say something useful today.
Okay. All right. So with that being said, I would like to give Ronaldo Wade the opportunity to give his feedback, interject his thoughts or whatever in relation to last week's show, and then we're going to go from there. Okay? Go right ahead, Mr. Wade.
Okay. From what notes that I took based on last week, it was pertaining to, Don, he was really, going off on the church as these preachers are being, quote, pulpit pimps. They have changed the church into a financial institution, and that is exactly what it is. Y'all tapped a little bit, just a little bit, and I wish I was on the show last week. Y'all talked about the 501c3, and that, I don't want to get too much into it, but, Don has some very interesting points about, should the pastors receive a particular salary? What about the building? How tithing has been, mistaught. It was a very interesting show. So I just wanted to wrap that up in about a couple of minutes. It was a very good show last week.
Okay, so just to reiterate a little bit, last week I brought a huge article to the show, and that article really spoke on in relation to the finances that a lot of the churches, the attendance. Because the article was mainly in relation to the mega churches and mega business, is what the article was called, mega churches and mega business. And with that being said, I brought up Joel Osteen and the attendance of his church, which the article said 25,000 at that time when that article was written. But as of today, I've researched, and as of today, his congregation is now 43,000. We mentioned T.D. Jakes last week, and the number that I quoted was 18,500, and now his congregation is now 30,000. And then of course we mentioned Creflo Dollar. We mentioned about the salaries and they start from as small as 50,000 a year up to 400,000 per year for salaries for some of the pastors. Now, so today, we really didn't get too much into the 501c3 portion, but Miss Amy has some information that she's going to share with you guys in relation to 501c3. And because the question that I posed to the audience, to the viewers, and to you guys is, are the churches ministry first? Business first and ministry last. Yeah. Okay? Are they business first and ministry last? And should pastors get paid? Yeah. Okay? So that's what these shows are all about. So Miss Amy is going to share. And last week we were really focusing on the business aspect of it. The business, and how much money these churches are making and how much salaries are being paid out. So we're still on the business portion of it, because what Miss Amy is going to share with you today, and I believe it is still on the business tip, right?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So it's some really good information that I found on, it's called hushmoney.org. And I want to kind of just read it to you, gentlemen, and I want to get your opinion. Do you agree, disagree? However, the article says, most churches in America have organized as 501c3 tax-exempt religion organizations. This is a fairly recent trend that has only been going on for about 50 years. Churches was only added to the section of 501c3 of the tax code in 1954. We can thank Sin Ladin, B. Johnson for that. Johnson was no ally of the church. A part of his political agenda, Johnson had it in mind to silence the church and eliminate the significant influence the church always had on shaping the public policy. Although Johnson proffered this as a favor to the churches, the favor also came with strings attached, more like shackles. One need not look far to see the devastating effects of the 501c3 acceptance has had on the church, and the consequence restriction placed on the 501c3 churches. 501c3 churches are prohibited from addressing in any tangible way the vital issues of the day. For a 501c3 church to openly speak out or organize in opposition to anything that the government declares legal, or even if it is immoral, such as abortion, homosexuality, etc., the church will jeopardize its tax exemption status if they are to speak against anything that the government has ordained lawful. So my question to you guys is, do you agree that the churches that are 501c3 has minimized their voice because they have fell under the operation of government now versus church, which is supposed to be separate?
Let's start with Daniel Johnston. Daniel, would you elaborate, please?
Well, I'll do what I can. Personally, I'm fine with the idea of churches being tax exempt because the idea is they perform a great service for the community. Many charities come through churches. Much good is done from churches, and I think in a way that's much more efficient and far-reaching than government can do. So that's okay with me, but that's a tax law that can come and go. What churches really stand for should be independent of that. And I haven't seen examples where churches are silenced because of that in my own particular instance. So I think that churches should be free to preach whatever they feel is important, to try and influence issues that they feel have important religious or moral significance, and nothing should get in that way. I'm not sure I see a problem with that happening yet in our day currently.
Okay. All right. So that's the point of view of Mr. Daniel Johnson from the Mormon standpoint. Let's go to Don C. Harris. Don C. Harris, what is your take on that particular situation?
Two things. I don't know how much the church should get involved in politics because we are actually supposed to be living in a kingdom of God right here on the earth right now, and I just don't know how much it should get involved. I am saddened by the murders and the foolishness and the bombings and such of abortion clinics and these kind of things. I'm saddened by preachers who stand up and tell people how to vote. And frankly, if they take money from the government, then the government should tell them what to preach. And if the government gives them tax advantage when people give money to their congregation, then that church is subsidized by the government. And the government should be able to tell them exactly what to do.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. So, anyway, let's go to Ronaldo Wade and see what his take is on that particular situation. Go right ahead, Ronaldo Wade.
Thank you so much. I do believe that the 501c is quite another strategic way to pull people away from the truth. They want to silence those who preach truth. The 501c3 is used as a elemental tool, also, like Sister Amy was saying, to silence those who are living the truth. It's one of three reasons why people will pick a 501c3 for their congregation. Number one, they do it out of ignorance because they didn't know any better. Number two, they do it because they get on what I like to call the bandwagon logic. because, hey, since they did it and they got a big edifice or a big church, I want that as well. Number three, you know, they just take advice from other people. So I really feel that, and people don't notice that the 501c3 is connected to FEMA. And FEMA is teaching these particular pastors with the 501c3, teaching them how to round up those who are homeless and those who are offending to government. And they're going to be rounded up and put in concentration camps, but that's another teacher.
Can I say something here?
Okay, so now look, what we're going to do here, guys. we
got to cover it.
For the tweet a little bit, and we're going to see what each one of you have to say about what the other one had to say. Okay, so let's go back to Don, and because you know,
well, here's the sad part.
In the background,
here's the sad part about this whole thing.
I have you to
people are
elaborate on what Ronaldo Wade has said, and Daniel.
The sad part about this is that churches are out there trying to get tax advantage that they already have. There is no reason to have a 501c3. If you're a church, then people who make donations to your church, it's tax exempt. What the heck is the problem? How can you be that ignorant of the laws and go and sign up with the government? You don't need 501c3. It gives you absolutely nothing that you don't already have right now as a church.
Okay. Let me. Okay. I heard you. Did you hear him? Yeah. You want to say?
Yeah, because at the finish, I didn't read all of the article. I just read part of it. But at the bottom of the article, Don C, it actually does say that a lot of people do it because of ignorance. And they said, and it says people should know better, because if you had to pay taxes on religion, religion wouldn't be free. So it was saying that churches are already tax exempt, so people do it out of ignorance. And so what do you guys think? They do it out of the bandwagon logic where everybody else is doing it. And then you have advisors, lawyers, and CPAs, and all these people telling the people that it would be a good idea. So that's what was in the bottom of the article.
Okay. Yeah. Don, she was actually talking to you, so go ahead.
Well, that's correct, and most people think that they cannot receive large donations to their church without the 501c3 status, and there's no reason to believe that. I encourage every pastor out there to dissolve their 501c3 status. You don't need it. It offers you nothing, and as soon as you get rid of it, you'll feel free to say whatever it is you want to say.
Slow that down, boy.
Okay, let me get over here to Dan. Daniel. You're quiet over there, so chime in, Daniel. Oh, what happened to him? What happened to Daniel? Did we lose Daniel?
It's frozen here.
Okay, looks like I think we've lost Daniel. I don't know what happened to Daniel, but anyway, yeah, looks like we've lost Daniel for a second there. Maybe he'll come back with us here when I don't know how he's. It doesn't look like he's gone, but he's gone or something. So maybe he'll get back in with us here in a minute, because I definitely wanted to hear what he had to say about that. But listen, Ronaldo Wade, my question to you is, now, isn't there something called separation of church and state? Isn't it? I mean, is it one of those situations where the church and the government are not supposed to be intertwined together? Is that somewhere, is it biblical, or is that a law, or what is that? I mean, how do we explain that from your perspective and your point of view? I would like for you to elaborate on separation of church and state. And then, Don, I'm going to give you the opportunity to do the same thing as soon as Ronaldo Wade is done, and hopefully Daniel will be back with us. Go ahead, Ronaldo.
I do believe the Messiah told us that we live in this world, but we're not of it. And he wasn't talking to everybody. He was just talking to the ones who are connected to the truth. So therefore, did you see the Messiah collect any money from the Romans or from the Pharisees or Sadducees? The Pharisees and the Sadducees, they was already doing church and state because they were getting their funds from the Roman government. So, you know, you even see that then. And even later on, during the teachings of Paul and also with the apostles, they never get any aid from the Roman government or from the Jewish council. So they collected among themselves, and that's how the kingdom, the kingdom expansion started. Now, it's very interesting that you do ask me that, because even with Constantine, he blended church and state together. He created a religion, false Christianity, and he creates this so that because he was already the emperor of Rome, he was also the first pope, okay? So he also further intertwined church and state. The government today, they see it's a money-making opportunity. You got to understand, we live in a capitalist nation. So therefore, we live in a corporation, not a country. This is a corporation, and it's all about making money. So they will use media, religion, just like they did. There's nothing new under the heavens. Here we go again. So church and state, yeah, they need to be apart, but yet still it's going to be together.
Okay. All right. So I hear what you're saying, Brother Ronaldo Wade. So let me see, Don C. Harris. Don, what do you have to say about? Is there somewhere biblical, or is it just in a law book or something somewhere about? That's my question. Isn't it supposed to be separation of church and state? Go ahead, Don.
Well, many people think that that is a constitutional right. They think that that's in the Bill of Rights, but it's actually in an informal address. It's among our political papers, but it's certainly not a right, and it's certainly not a rule. I happen to believe in separation of church and state because I know the intent that it was written under, and that is, England lived under a church that was sanctioned by the state, and this
Okay, I'm not exactly sure what's happening there, but it looks like with Don's technical system over there on that end is freezing up, so we're missing out on what Don is saying right now. So I guess when he come back, he'll realize that we didn't hear nothing he said. Okay, so maybe we'll try that again. Don, are you back with us? Okay, there's something going on with the technical. I guess there's something out there in the air that don't want us to do the show here today. But anyway, it looks like we missed most of what Don had to say, so we'll have to go back to him at some point here, but it looks like Daniel is back with us. So, Daniel, would you like to chime in on what I had to say, and then we'll go from there?
Okay.
I killed my video.
I'm sorry. Daniel?
I just heard Mr. Harris saying that he killed his video.
Okay.
So my connection went down for a moment, and I'm back up here. For myself, I don't have any personal opinion on the 501c3. I think that anything that would hamper the church's free expression of their speech and what they want to preach would be a problem. There should be no government control of that. That, as I think Mr. Harris was saying, that's the problem with if the church and state are too closely connected. The churches should be free from the state so that they can preach what to them seems to be best. So I don't have any real opinion on that particular way of getting tax exempt status. But yeah, churches are currently tax exempt, and I think that is fine. I think some people don't like that idea, but I think that's fine simply because of the churches have the possibility and certainly a history of doing much good for the community, and that helps them do that. But I would certainly oppose anything that would hinder what churches can say or put them under any type of government control. But I think that's a slightly different topic than the idea of other topics involving money in churches and pastors getting paid and so on.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Daniel, for that. Now, listen, Daniel, when you left, I had asked a question about separation of church and state. Okay. There's something in relation to separation of church and state. And like I was saying, I didn't know if it was law or if it's biblical or what it really is, but I'd like to get your elaboration. If you're still with us, I'd like to get your elaboration on separation of church and state. How do you feel about that? Is that supposed to be that way, or what's your words on separation of church and state, please?
Well, I think it's a great idea in many ways. I mean, Jesus did, of course, teach to render unto God things that were God's and render unto Caesar things that were Caesar's, but that they shouldn't really interact. I think a big problem with the ancient Christian church historically is when it became the official church of the Roman Empire. And so I think from there it started to become something different than what Christ and his apostles had intended. So in our own country, I think the idea of a separation of church and state is very healthy. I think that the best societies would not control religion or abandon it, but have it be an important part of the society, but that church should not have too much influence over the state or the government, and vice versa, that the government should not influence churches in what they practice and what they preach. So I think we should keep that in mind. Now, too many people today think separation of church and state means separation of religion and state, that you can't take your religious ideas into the public forum, or you can't vote or do things based on your religious convictions. I don't think that was ever what was intended. Simply that the government can't tell churches what to do, and churches can't tell government what to do. I think that's very healthy for everyone involved.
Okay, so well, I'm wondering I don't know if Don is back with us or not, but
yeah, I'm here.
Okay. So Don, how do you feel about what
I fully agree with what he's saying.
How do you feel about what Daniel just said?
Yeah, I agree with him. I have take great exception to churches being involved in government and government being involved in churches, and I'm fully in favor of separation of church and state. If you want to know what the scriptures have to say about it, Jesus said, "Give Caesar whatever he wants." What's this? When he decided to show what Caesar owned, he picked up a piece of money.
Okay. Let's go back to Brother Wade here. Brother Wade, I got a feeling you want to jump in on that a little bit. I think you might have some more to add to that before we move on. Go right ahead, Brother Wade.
If people would really study the text, go back into the Latin Vulgate and go even further than that, people will understand that was added in. Why? Because what government and what particular religion we talking about? You're talking about the Roman Catholic Church. So they always believe to collect taxes first before you give the Father what is his. Why would it say render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, then give unto the Father what is the Father's? The churches uses that all the time. They say, well, you know what? You pay your tithes first before you give into your own family. And that's why a lot of people are so broke today, because they just dive into the influence of this society. is very crooked. So you got to be careful what you study and how you study things.
Okay, so you say that's why people are so broke today.
Yeah, that's the truth. Yes.
Okay, so so I guess my next question is, as far as people being broke, you know, do you, Daniel, do you feel that people should spend their money the way that they do in churches, which are basically making the churches rich the way that they are? Because, I mean, when you go back, Daniel, and you watch last week's show, you will see the numbers that I gave out in relation to all the big money that is going into these big churches. And so, Daniel, do you feel that the members of these churches should be shelling out big money like they're doing?
Well, I don't really want to tell other people what they should and shouldn't do. I can just kind of look at it from our viewpoint and what our practice is. And in our church, we do pay a tithe, and a tithe is very simply 10% of your income. For those who have a huge income, it's 10% of that. If you have a very, very small income, you know, your tithe is much smaller. And I think there are many people that would say that that's a good way to go, to be able to take a part of your money and use it for something that's not for your selfish interest, but try and put it to a good cause that actually helps you do more with the money that you have. The truth is that in our country, people are wildly spending more than they make. They're spending on things that they don't need, and I don't think they really appreciate their money and know how to work within a budget and use it well. I think that paying a true tithe can help you understand how to use your money well, help you understand that it all comes from God, and you give a small part back to God, and you use what you have for yourself and for others if you can, in a way that isn't harmful to you. I've heard many people say that paying a tithe helps them manage their money better, helps them realize, helps them be smarter with their money. So I'm not going to say other people pay too much for other churches. That's for them to decide, but I think it's important to realize you can give something to God and you can give something to yourself and your family and use that well. I think how to spend your money well is a lesson that our whole country needs to relearn.
Okay, Daniel, let me ask you something, and this question is going to go to all three of you guys, okay? Listen, when the person pays that tithe, that 10% or whatever that particular denomination teaches that is supposed to be paid, which most denominations from my research and studies, they all basically teach that it's a 10%. Okay, but when that person pays that money, I noticed that mostly all denominations say the same thing, that that money is going to God. So my question to you, Johnson, Daniel, and starting with you, Daniel, and then going on to the other two, is that money going to God or is it going to the church?
Well, in our view, our church is the organization that is on the earth now to do things for God. This money is considered to be sacred. One thing I'd like to point out is that on a local level, we don't get paid for what we do. This is completely volunteer work. So tithing money is considered to be sacred, funds that are donated to God. We don't have paid ministry. We don't have paid pastors. No one does this as a profession. It's all volunteer work, and we think that's the biblical model. That's how things should be. So the money is going for the building of churches, keeping programs going, supporting missionaries, helping people who need help, worldwide types of programs, things like that. It's not going into a priest or a minister's pocket. That's our view of how things should be. And I think that for anyone who is paying a donation to a church, that donation is given in faith. Whatever church takes that should treat that donation of money as sacred and not as someone's living.
Okay. Now we're getting down to the next topic, which is about the payroll, and we just sort of rolling right into that. But still, I want Don C. Harris. I see Don is with us. I want Don to go. I want you to elaborate on that question that I just asked Don, and then Ronaldo will be next. Don, go ahead.
I couldn't say it better than our Mormon friend did. I don't believe that any pastor, preacher, anybody who calls themselves in any way, shape, or form a mouthpiece between God and man has any business taking a dime for doing that. I know the Apostle Paul made it very, very clear that the ox that treads out the corn can eat of that same corn, and I get that. I understand that. But we also have to remember that Paul said, I have decided not to do that, so I won't be chargeable to any of you. I have made the comment to so many pastors, if you'd like to add 70% to the power that you have in the pulpit, stand up, tell your board, you don't pay me a dime for what I do, and go get a job parking cars or being a caddy at the golf course, but earn your living by the sweat of your brow and quit taking money from people in order to preach the gospel. It's not right. It's not scriptural. It's not good. There's nothing good about it.
Okay, Don. Don, slow down, man. Look, you didn't answer my question, though. I mean, I heard everything you said, but still my question was, does that money go to God that they pay, that people are requested to pay as the 10% tithe, what do you feel happens to that money? Does that money go to, because they tell you in the churches and in the denominations, give this money to God. So
they're liars.
Is that money being given to God, or is it going to the church, Don?
They're lying. I don't know why they don't just go in the scriptures and read what they say. There are 3 tithes that are to be paid. 10% goes to ministry, just like our Mormon friends talking about all the ministries of the church and all the expenses of doing that. That 10% goes to ministry. There's 10% that we're supposed to set aside for the welfare of our families and for the feast and that kind of thing. And then there's a 3% tithe. It's a 10% tithe every 3 years. Goes to the Levites. That's what that money is for. That's how the Levites are supposed to make a living. They're not supposed to own anything. They're not supposed to have anything. They're supposed to, whatever they receive as gifts from the people inside that congregation, which amounts to 3% of their income. If they just read the cotton-picking Bible instead of toting it around and throwing it on their dashboard, we wouldn't have these problems.
Okay, Don. All right, Don. Your time is up. Your time is up on the WYLEANER show, okay? Your time is up. Ronaldo, wait. Speak on, does that money go to God or does it go to the church? What do they mean when they say you're giving to God, Ronaldo?
It's very simple. Take your money that you're going to give to the Father, throw it up in the heavens, and see if he'll catch it. And don't blame it on the law of gravity. It's going to come right back down because he doesn't need your money. He needs you. Okay? So let's make that clear. There's no Levites. Thank you. There's no Levites. Okay? So where the money go now? Because we are in a new, we are in the spiritual intent of the law. There's no more tithing that has to do with money because it was never about money. It was about agriculture. They had to bring the first fruits and they had to bring it into the storehouses. In the book of Malachi, it says what? Will a man rob the father? What does the Hebrew word for rob mean? It means to deceive. So how does a man deceive the father? Because the Levites was not bringing their tithes into the storehouse. So when people use these verses to manipulate people, to control them, people need to study for themselves. We're not under that law no more. Remember, we're supposed to do the commandments. We're supposed to do the dietary law. We're supposed to do the marital law. There's no more Levites. There's no more temple. It was done away with in 70 AD by the Romans. The Roman Catholic Church was the ones who used what they called the taxes, and they called it tithe, just to sugarcoat so that you can pay your tithes. And I'm done.
Yeah, you done. All of y'all done. Instead of working, you're done for the day. I'll tell you what, I mean to tell you, this has been a great show. Miss Amy, did you enjoy the show today? Wonderful, wonderful. I'll tell you what, guys, this has been some great information that you guys have shared with us today, and we're excited about it. I tell you, next week we're going to be talking about those paychecks. Okay, we're going to talk about the payroll next week. About the payroll, should pastors get paid or not? Okay, I know we kind of tapped into it a little bit today, but next week we're going to really get into it, okay? And so I want you guys to be prepared. Are you coming back with us next week, guys?
I believe so.
Also, will you be back next week?
Yep.
Okay. Don, will you be back next week? All righty. And Daniel, will you be back next week?
I believe so. I'll make every attempt to be here and enjoy it.
All right. So listen, everybody, we gotta go. Y'all know what show this is. This is the WYLEANER Show, and I'm WYLEANER, the Las Vegas Queen of Gospel.
And I'm her co-host, Miss Amy Rucker, the voice of my generation.
All righty then, and y'all know what show this is. This is the WYLEANER Show, and this is where the rubber meets the road. We'll see you next week.